I welcome you all here. I want to take a very brief moment to thank all of my fellow hosts. They are awesome women that put this together. Thank you. Give them a clap. Come on. And our generous sponsors that made this possible with the sound system, etc. They're over there and over there. Thank you. Thank you. Our volunteers in the neon vests, thank you so much. The Green trustees, the Morristown police, and the mayor and his office. This event would not be possible without all of them. Now, we have a pink wave that's coming over our country. You can see it here. It's women taking their power, going to the polls, and putting their names on the ballot. Right. Because, to quote Elizabeth Warren and many others, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. Right? And we're tired of being on the menu. Right? We want a seat at the table. We want women's issues addressed. So I'm here to tell you that we have more women than ever in the entire country running for office. You've seen it. You've seen the results of the pink wave. But we also have more women in New Jersey running for office. Yes, yes. And I have behind me candidates for Congress that I'm going to introduce. All right. Tamara Harris running in the 11th. Mikey Sherrill running in the 11th. All right, Lisa Mandeville running in the 7th. And Linda Weber. Is Linda here? Sorry, I will. In the microphone. So, and who else do we have? Hello, Brown. Yes, Lindsey Brown. Okay. And in addition to the women that are running in the 7th and 11th and other districts, we want to thank our electeds. All right? Because they ran and won. And we want to ask all you to join them. So I want to give a special shout out to Senator Ruiz, Joanne Downey, Shavanda Sumter, our Assemblywoman, and Nancy Pekin. Thank you so much for coming. And I also want to thank our partners and allies. And I want to thank the governor. What was one of the first things he signed was an executive order for equal pay. Thank you, Phil. Come on. And I also want to call out Craig Calkin, our Speaker of the Assembly, who's here. And I want to say that all of us here, want to work with you both, the Speaker Calkin and our new governor, to enact a women's agenda in New Jersey. We're going to be a beacon for women's issues in this state. And now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Win, who's going to introduce the governor. Win Kong, my friend and fellow resistor. Win.
Hi, I'm Win Kung, and I'm representing 18,000 members of Action Together, New Jersey! It's my pleasure today to introduce our first speaker, Phil Murphy. Now, when I met Phil over a year ago, I wondered if we would have anything in common. After all, he's the former ambassador to Germany, Irish and quite tall, and here I was, a work-at-home mom, Vietnamese, also quite tall, for a Vietnamese woman. Then I learned that we had some shared values. We both grew up poor and started working as young teens in restaurants, so we both value hard work and good-paying jobs. We so believe in civil rights and equality for all citizens, and we're lifetime members of the NAACP. And at Action Together, our leadership is 95% women, and with Phil's recent appointment of 6 female cabinet members, Phil and I believe in the recruitment, hiring, and empowerment of women. And lastly, we agree on one of the most important things. We agree that the best decision he ever made was in marrying our First Lady, Tammy Murphy. So, New Jersey, please give a rousing welcome to our Governor, Phil Murphy. Let's hear ya.
Thank you, Lynn. What a treat. Good afternoon, everybody. I was just saying to the mayor, typical Saturday afternoon here in Morristown. What an extraordinary show of courage, of passion, of strength. I just would say one thing to the president, we're not going anywhere. We ain't going away. And as I mentioned at our inauguration on Tuesday, we didn't ask for this fight, but we must engage and we will engage. And we have already started to. I'm incredibly proud of the diversity of the team that we're putting on the field, beginning with our rock star Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver. And if you look at the team that we've assembled so far at our cabinet level, it is the most diverse team at that level that's ever been put on the field in this state, and more is to come. Marcia, a little windy up here. Marcia mentioned this. I'm incredibly honored that Executive Order number 1, signed literally within an hour or so of being sworn in, was to instruct all state departments and agencies that from now on we are equal pay for equal work for women. And that's a great step, but it's the beginning. We need to pass a law, and I will sign it, that says that should be the law of this entire state, not just in the state government. And there's a lot more to come. And I will greet all of the above with a signing ceremony, not a veto pen. That's putting money and funding Planned Parenthood again. That's signing sensible gun safety laws. That's minimum wage of $15 an hour. That's protecting our dreamers, our DACA participants, our immigrants in every step of the way. I cannot thank you enough for your passion, your support, not just of me personally, but of so many of my colleagues up here, both those who have recently got elected and those who we will elect this year, and God knows we will elect a wave this year in Congress and beyond. I've had a bunch of important role models in my life. Most of them, more often than not, have been women. My mom, my late mom, and for the past 24 years, my wife. She is a rock star in her own right. She cares about the things that we care about. She was born under the same star that so many of us were born under, which is progressive politics is American values, and that those are consistent. She, like I am, is guided as much by the words in our Constitution as by that poem by Emma Lazarus at the base of the Statue of Liberty. That is the America that we know. And I'm incredibly proud and honored that as of Tuesday, she is New Jersey's First Lady. Please join me in welcoming Tammy Snyder Murphy.
There's a lot of you out there. Thank you, Phil. Good morning, Morristown, New Jersey. 1 year ago in Trenton, I was proud to join with roughly 10,000 women in solidarity that we will not let our values be compromised by President Trump or anyone else. to Elizabeth Meyer, who brought us together 1 year ago and does so again today, and to all the organizers, sponsors, participating organizations, and of course, all of you. Thank you for keeping the spirit alive and well in New Jersey. Last year, I had the honor to march next to our great Congresswoman, Bonnie Watson Coleman. While she fully intended to be here today, she has to stay in at work, as you may have heard, and try and get the government to start functioning again. So, Bonnie, we all thank you for your efforts to keep the men in Washington honest, for fighting for our values, and for leading the progressive charge. To all the other speakers today, I am beyond honored to be here with you. You know, thinking back over this past year, what we have seen is nothing short of an awakening, not just for women, but for countless others who will not take what we're seeing from the White House sitting down. I think of the words that Mitch McConnell used to try and silence Senator Elizabeth Warren. But for us here, I think this more aptly sums it up. We have been insulted, we have been tweeted at, but nevertheless, we have resisted. If there's been a silver lining in the past year, it is in the thousands upon thousands of women who have found their voices to fight back. We will no longer accept the actions of men who believe they hold their power over us or over our bodies. The stories of the Me Too movement have humbled the powerful and empowered the forgotten. But let's remember that this didn't begin last year. For decades, women activists have devoted their lives to exposing the oppression they face at work, at home, on the train, as they move about their lives, often at great personal risk. From Rosa Parks to Tarana Burke, we stand here today on the shoulders of giants. All the world is listening more closely than ever. They have inspired those who have kept their stories filed away as merely a bad memory to step forward. We will no longer be defined by others. We will be defined by our collective bravery. And today, I will add my voice to this growing chorus. 3 decades ago, as a college sophomore, I was sexually assaulted. Moving between 2 groups of friends, I had a choice of taking a longer path that was well lit or a shorter brick walkway that was slightly in the shadows. I chose the short distance, maybe 20 feet. As I walked along the brick path, I suddenly stopped because the light was coming in and then it stopped. So I turned my head to look and was pulled into the bushes. I was thrown on my back. I had a man on top of me, pulled my shirt up, pulled my skirt up, and I started screaming. And as I looked to my left, not more than 6 feet away, there was a party that was going on, and I could see the whole party in the window. And I was screaming bloody murder, but no one could hear me. But the attacker got a little nervous. So he started reaching around to see what he could find to shut me up. And he found a crab apple. And when he tried to put that in my mouth, I bit him as hard as I could. I then got up and ran into a fraternity house. You can imagine this today. I barely had any clothes on at the time. So this is in the middle of a party, and I ran into a fraternity house. And to their credit, the boys in the fraternity house called the police. Unfortunately, because of the attitudes at the time, and despite my efforts to see this man convicted for what he did to me, my assailant never faced justice in my case. It wasn't until a future point in time, and a future crime that he finally went to jail. Until today, only a few have heard my story. Now you all know. I tell this today not for me, but really for all of you. Surely among us is a woman who has been silent about her own story. I know the feeling of shame. I know the feeling of helplessness. And I know the disappointment of justice denied. But by speaking out, we can find our strength and ensure our lives are not defined by this experience, but that we define it. I read in the news that reports of sexual assaults on our college campuses here in New Jersey have increased over the past year. And I emphasize the word reports. That shows a growing number of young women are not going to remain silent, and they are not going to blame themselves. That means our movement is working. Many of us are blessed to have tight families and a tight network of friends to see us through life's challenges. But to those among us today who don't, do not despair. Look around you now and know this is your New Jersey family. You will never be alone among this tremendous sisterhood. I am inspired by you. I am honored to be with you here today. And I cannot wait until next year. It is now my humble honor to introduce our next speaker. He is not only a friend and a leader, but a collaborator with our movement today, as exemplified by the many decades of dedication and partnership he has shared with his wonderful wife, Tish. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Speaker of the New Jersey General Assembly, Craig Coughlin. Thank you.
God, I love democracy. How amazing is this? To the organizers, thank you. I was proud to be with you last year in Trenton, and I think you're on to something. What do you think, folks? You coming back next year? I hope you don't have to. I hope they listen. I hope those folks in Washington hear these voices. You know, Governor Murphy talked about the house that he grew up in, and mine was the same. My mother was my hero. My dad died when I was 4, and I grew up with my sister and my mom. And in our house, I wasn't the king. Everybody was equal. My sister could do everything I can. In fact, she does it all better. And now I'm fortunate enough to live with my wife, Tish, who raised my son, and she is nothing short of a force of nature, and taught our boys that dignity and respect starts at home and is never, ever compromisable. You can't change dignity. You can't change respect. And I'm so privileged to be here with so many of my colleagues and to look out at the face of New Jersey, the beautiful mosaic that is our great state. I look out and I see faces of people who came out today to stand up for justice, for righteousness, for the things that we know matter. And I can tell anybody who wants to run against this group, you're making a mistake. You ought to be, if you're in the front of this organization, in front of this group, you better be walking with them, because otherwise they're going to run you over. So anybody, are there any conservatives here? Let's welcome them. There's got to be one. Welcome aboard. We're glad you saw the light. This is part of a movement that started last year, and it's going to carry forward in the future. And the faces that I see out here now are going to be the faces that turn the face of Congress come November, that turn the country back to a place where dignity and respect are the things we value, not late night tweets. So thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for standing up for New Jersey. Thank you all for making a difference. I look forward to seeing you next year. Let's go.
my sisters in solidarity. Good afternoon, brothers who believe in our cause. I'm Reverend Carol Patterson of the Calvary Baptist Church here in Morristown, and I stand before you to do a tribute to the late Edith Savage Jennings. As you know, all across America, women are showing our disapproval of discriminatory policies that adversely affect women in our wallets, our workplaces, and our wombs. 45 is the only man to occupy America's House at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C., who did not invite freedom fighter Edith Savage Jennings to be his guest since 32. I'm not real good at math, but I know there were a lot of presidents between 32 and 45. Ms. Edith was a guest of every president of the United States, from Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was 32, through Barack Obama, who was 44. She received FDR's invitation after bravely addressing First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt in spite of instructions to remain silent when she was selected to present some flowers. When she was 10 years old, Ms. Edith started speaking up, and she never stopped. It's possible that Rosa Parks was inspired by Ms. Edith. In 1937, a 13-year-old, this Jersey girl helped to integrate the Capitol Theater in Trenton by refusing to sit in the black seating area. I quoted Coretta Scott King at the start of the march because she and Miss Edith were sisters in the struggle who became very close friends. 2 years after the Montgomery bus boycott, these two women met while Miss Edith was raising funds for the Southern Christian leadership. In 1964, Miss Edith traveled to Mississippi with New Jersey's First Lady to integrate a school there. In 1968, she coordinated the Middle States Poor People's Campaign. And in the 1980s, she lobbied to make New Jersey the first state to divest its investments in South Africa. In 1993, when the former Edith Savage married the late C. Donald Jennings, Rosa Parks attended the wedding, and Coretta Scott King was her maid of honor. Although her place in history is more subtle than her two friends from Georgia, it's no less significant. That's why in 2009, Miss Edith was inducted into the National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis, and in 2011, she was inducted into the New Jersey Women's Hall of Fame. 45's failure to invite an icon like Miss Edith to America's House is indicative of his many failures to embrace equality, to pronounce diversity, to promote unity. I believe if Miss Edith could talk today to 45, she would share her favorite quote from Booker T. Washington. He said, "In all things that are purely social, we can be as separate as the 5 fingers, yet as one as the hand in all things essential to mutual progress." And if Miss Edith could talk to us today, she might echo the sentiments of her friend and celebrated member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Coretta Scott King. Women, if the soul of the nation is to be saved, I believe that you must be its soul. May God bless our collective efforts to carry on Miss Edith's commitment to make America better.
When the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory, glory, to the heavens, no man, no weapon formed against, yes, glory is destined. Everyday women and men become legends. Sins that go against our skin become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us. Justice is juxtaposition in us. Justice for all just ain't specific enough. Revisiting us, true and living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on the bus. That's why we walk through Ferguson with our hands up. When it go down, we woman and man up. They say stay down, and we stand up. Shots, we on the ground, the camera panned up. King pointed to the mountaintop, and we ran up.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be.
Let's have a nice round of applause for the Reverend Dr. Carol Patterson. You and me, we're just sisters. Jet black, dark brown, white, golden, tan, or honeydew. We're the same, me and you. You and me, we're just sisters, sharing our laughter and sharing our tears, growing stronger after all the years. May the ancestors continue to bless us in each and every little thing that we do. But please, 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 my dear sisters, just remember, we're the same, me and you. You and me, we just sisters. Celebrate from girls to women. God bless you.